They move in shadows, strike without warning, and answer only to the Kremlin. From masked little green men to frogmen lurking beneath the seas, Russia's special forces are feared worldwide. Today, we're uncovering every elite unit explained: FSB Spetsnaz, Alpha Group, and Vympel. When people talk about Russian special forces, the first names that come up are Alpha and Vympel. These two elite units belong to the FSB, Russia's Federal Security Service, and they are among the most secretive and feared. Alpha was created in the 1970s during the Cold War to deal with terrorism and hostage situations. The Soviet leadership had seen how vulnerable they were to attacks on their embassies and airports, so they wanted a group that could strike fast and with precision. Alpha earned its reputation quickly. They trained for hijackings, embassy takeovers, and situations where civilians' lives hung in the balance. One of their most famous operations was the storming of the Moscow theater in 2002, when Chechen rebels held hundreds of people hostage. The operation saved many, though it was controversial because of the gas used to knock out the terrorists. It showed the kind of high-risk, high-stakes missions Alpha is designed for. Vympel, on the other hand, was built for something very different. Created in 1981, this unit specialized in deep cover operations abroad, sabotage behind enemy lines, and nuclear facility security. If Alpha was the shield against terrorism at home, Vympel was the sword ready to strike outside Russia's borders. Today, they are often tasked with protecting sensitive government facilities and carrying out missions that never make the news. Together, Alpha and Vympel represent the sharp edge of the FSB's power. They are highly trained, heavily armed, and operate in a world where failure is not an option. These units are a reminder that Russia takes its internal security and global influence extremely seriously. GRU Spetsnaz, Military Intelligence Forces. If Alpha and Vympel are the FSB's sword and shield, then the GRU Spetsnaz are the long arm of Russia's military intelligence. Formed back in 1950, these forces were designed to go deep behind enemy lines, gather intelligence, and sabotage enemy infrastructure. Their roots stretch to the Cold War when the Soviet Union needed eyes and ears on NATO positions. They became famous for their ability to slip into hostile territory, stay undetected, and carry out missions that shaped larger battles. Unlike FSB Spetsnaz, the GRU are not primarily about counterterrorism. Their specialty is military operations. That means reconnaissance, ambushes, and direct action against strategic targets. They have been deployed everywhere the Soviet Union and later Russia had interests, from Afghanistan in the 1980s to Chechnya in the 1990s, and more recently in Ukraine and Syria. The GRU often serve as the shadow force, doing the dangerous work before the regular army even arrives. What makes them stand out is the sheer toughness of their training. GRU Spetsnaz soldiers are pushed to the breaking point. They are trained in parachuting, diving, explosives, languages, and survival in hostile environments. Old Soviet veterans like to say that GRU training was not just to make men strong, but to make them unbreakable. This reputation has followed them for decades, adding to their mystique. Today, GRU Spetsnaz remain one of Russia's most important military tools. They operate in secrecy, often without uniforms, blending into foreign lands to carry out Moscow's orders. To many in the West, they are the invisible hand of Russia's military power, feared for both their skill and their unpredictability. KSSO, Special Operations Forces Command. The KSSO is Russia's newest and most modern special operations branch, sometimes called Russia's answer to America's Joint Special Operations Command. Formally created in 2013, its roots go back to reforms started in 2009, when Russia realized it needed a force that could handle global missions with the same flexibility as Western counterparts. Unlike older Spetsnaz units tied to a single ministry, the KSSO was designed to bring together the best personnel and technology under one unified command. This unit is small compared to others, but highly specialized. Its soldiers are selected from across the Russian military, including airborne and naval forces. Their training is rigorous and covers everything from precision shooting to foreign languages. They also focus heavily on using advanced technology, including drones, night vision, and high-tech communications. That makes them very different from the old Soviet model of throwing numbers at a problem. Instead, KSSO relies on smaller, smarter teams. The world first really saw KSSO in action during the annexation of Crimea in 2014. The so-called little green men, masked and heavily armed soldiers without insignia, were widely believed to be KSSO operators. They quickly seized key sites without firing a shot, showing just how effective they could be. Since then, KSSO has appeared in Syria, coordinating airstrikes and leading high-value missions against ISIS targets. KSSO today represents the future of Russian special operations. They are fewer in number, but their role is strategic. Whether it is seizing territory, guiding precision strikes, or protecting Russia's interests abroad, they are the unit Moscow uses when it wants results without headlines. Rosgvardiya Spetsnaz, SOBR, and OMON. When Russia created the National Guard, or Rosgvardiya, in 2016, two of the toughest internal security units came under its command, SOBR and OMON. These groups are not frontline soldiers like the GRU or KSSO, but they play a vital role in keeping order inside Russia's borders. Think of them as shock troops for law enforcement, called in when regular police cannot handle the situation. OMON, whose name translates to Special Purpose Mobile Unit, dates back to the late Soviet era. They became famous during the turbulent years of the 1990s, when riots, protests, and organized crime surged. OMON units were the ones in black helmets and shields, breaking up violent demonstrations or storming buildings controlled by criminals. They gained a reputation for toughness, sometimes even brutality, but their presence sent a clear message. The state was in control. SOBR, which stands for Special Rapid Response Unit, is a little different. Formed in 1992, they were created specifically to fight organized crime and heavily armed gangs. While OMON was handling crowds, SOBR was carrying out raids on mafia bosses, drug lords, and dangerous criminals. Their training is closer to counterterrorism, with emphasis on fast assaults, precision shooting, and high-risk arrests. Together, SOBR and OMON give Rosgvardiya a powerful set of tools. They may not be as secretive as Alpha or as global as GRU, but their role is crucial in maintaining Russia's internal stability. Whenever there is unrest, a hostage crisis, or an armed gang causing chaos, these units are often the first through the door. MVD Spetsnaz, Interior Ministry's Special Police Units. Before Rosgvardiya existed, Russia's Interior Ministry, or MVD, ran its own powerful special units. These were the country's first true Spetsnaz police forces, trained to deal with the chaos of the post-Soviet 1990s. They were heavily armed, fast to deploy, and designed to take on tasks that ordinary police were simply not equipped to handle. Even though many of them were later absorbed into the National Guard, their legacy still matters. MVD Spetsnaz units included both SOBR and OMON at first, but the ministry also had smaller specialized detachments across Russia's regions. These groups carried out raids on organized crime networks, cracked down on smuggling, and acted as the government's muscle when unrest broke out. In those years, Russia was full of instability. Bombings, mafia wars, and terrorist threats were not rare, and the MVD Spetsnaz were often the ones thrown into the most dangerous corners. One of their defining features was versatility. Unlike the GRU, which focused on military missions, or Alpha, which targeted terrorism, MVD Spetsnaz worked everywhere from crowded city streets to rural villages. They might be dispersing a riot one week and storming a drug cartel hideout the next. This flexibility made them both respected and feared by criminals and protesters alike. Today, most of these units have been restructured under Rosgvardiya, but the MVD's original Spetsnaz formations built the model for how Russia handles internal security crises. They remain an important chapter in the story of Russian special forces, a bridge between military-style operations and domestic policing. FSO Spetsnaz, Federal Protective Service Units. The Federal Protective Service, or FSO, is one of Russia's most secretive agencies. At first glance, it looks like a VIP protection service, similar to the US Secret Service. But beneath the surface, its Spetsnaz units are far more capable than ordinary bodyguards. They are trained not only to protect Russia's top leaders, including the president, but also to secure sensitive government sites and communications. Their responsibilities place them at the very heart of Russian power. FSO Spetsnaz are drawn from some of the best trained men in the country. They practice counter-sniper tactics, anti-terrorism drills, and close protection techniques. Their role is not just standing near a limousine. They prepare for the worst scenarios imaginable, from an armed assault on the Kremlin to a chemical attack on senior officials. Because of their proximity to the Russian leadership, their work is wrapped in secrecy and few details are ever made public. One of their unique jobs is securing the government's communication networks. This may sound unusual, but in Russia, keeping the president connected and safe is considered a national security priority. FSO units also guard nuclear command centers, bunkers, and key infrastructure. In many ways, they are the invisible shield around the Russian state, ensuring that leadership can continue operating no matter what threat arises. For the public, FSO Spetsnaz are rarely seen. They do not appear in parades or on television like other forces. But for those inside Russia's power structure, they are indispensable. Quiet, professional, and fiercely loyal, they represent the elite of elite when it comes to protective security. Navy Spetsnaz, combat divers, and maritime commandos. When battles move to the water, Russia relies on its Navy Spetsnaz. These are the combat divers and maritime commandos who specialize in missions beneath the waves and along coastlines. Their history goes back to World War II, when Soviet frogmen carried out daring sabotage against German ships. Over the decades, they evolved into highly trained underwater operators capable of planting mines, destroying harbors, and gathering intelligence where conventional forces could never reach. The Navy Spetsnaz are not large in number, but their skills are unique. They train to swim long distances with heavy gear, use rebreathers to avoid leaving bubbles, and operate in near-total darkness. Their targets can include enemy submarines, ports, oil rigs, and even underwater communication cables. In many ways, they are the underwater equivalent of the GRU Spetsnaz, slipping into hostile areas where nobody expects them. During the Cold War, these units gained a reputation for stealth operations against NATO navies. Western intelligence often suspected them of prowling around foreign harbors, mapping defenses, and preparing for sabotage in case of war. More recently, they have played roles in conflicts like Syria and Ukraine, where control of coastlines and ports was critical. Their ability to quietly infiltrate and prepare the battlefield gives Russia a hidden advantage at sea. The Navy Spetsnaz are a reminder that special operations are not limited to land or air. They are masters of the silent domain beneath the water, combining diving skill, explosives knowledge, and commando training. For any rival navy, the thought of unseen Russian frogmen lurking nearby is enough to cause serious concern. VDV Spetsnaz, Airborne Special Forces. Among Russia's most celebrated troops are the VDV, the Airborne Forces. Within this branch, special detachments known as VDV Spetsnaz carry the role of elite reconnaissance and sabotage units. Their roots stretch back to the Cold War, when the Soviet Union wanted paratroopers who could not only seize airfields but also operate deep behind enemy lines. Dropping from the sky with light equipment, they were expected to survive on their own and disrupt enemy defenses until larger forces arrived. The VDV Spetsnaz are famous for their toughness. Training includes long marches with heavy packs, parachute jumps in all weather, and survival exercises where soldiers must live off the land. They are drilled in ambush tactics, explosives, and precision shooting, making them effective in both reconnaissance and direct combat. Veterans often say that being airborne Spetsnaz is not just a job, but a test of willpower, where only the strongest endure. These forces saw action in Afghanistan during the 1980s, where they fought in rugged mountains against guerrilla fighters. Later, they were heavily used in Chechnya, where urban warfare pushed their endurance to the limit. In recent years, they have appeared in Ukraine, showing once again that the VDV Spetsnaz are a key tool in Russia's most dangerous missions. Their combination of mobility and aggression makes them a constant threat to any opponent. Today, the VDV Spetsnaz remain an important part of Russia's military doctrine. They are the airborne spearhead, capable of dropping behind enemy lines at short notice. For Russia, they symbolize both tradition and power, carrying on the legacy of Soviet paratroopers while adapting to modern warfare. From the silent divers of the Navy to the airborne strike teams of the VDV, each of Russia's special forces units has its own mission and its own legend. Together, they form a network built to protect the state and project power far beyond its borders. Which of these units do you think is the most formidable? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most secretive forces.